My name is John Thomas Everett. I'm from Baltimore, Maryland. The title of my book is Maseah Mountain. Maseah Mountain is the story of a doctor trying to find himself in the year 1932. The story is that the doctor goes through a traumatic event in his life, then tries to escape the guilt associated with that by escaping to the Bitterroot Mountains of Idaho, where he buys a very large ranch where he hopes to find solitude. And instead he finds not only various bands of the Shoshone Indian, but he also finds love and adventure and intrigue. I think what makes Maseah Mountain unique is the setting, certainly. A very exciting place, the Bitterroot Mountains, undeveloped in general. But I think what carries the book are the characters. I think the characters are very unique, well developed, and characters that the readers will care about. What triggered my thoughts around Maseah Mountain was I was teaching in the MBA at a university in Baltimore, and I was teaching a course in personal effectiveness. And I've gotten really very interested in how human beings walk through stages, like plants, to emotional maturity. If you ever read anybody like Stephen Covey, for instance, he talks about going from dependence to independence to interdependence. And that's what my character does. Yes, I have written other books. My first was published in 2 years ago now, called Plug Ugly Ball. It's the story of the Baltimore street gangs in the 1850s that really ruled the city in those days. My second book is still in manuscript. It is Maseah Mountain, as it turns out. It's my second book. The third is in manuscript as well. That's called No Slave to Reason. That's a murder mystery set in 1897 in the old theater district in Baltimore that tells the story of a man and a woman, one who is very logical, the woman very creative and intuitive, and the murder mystery doesn't get solved until the right brain gets together with the left brain to solve the problem. I think I had been thinking about joining or entering contests in an effort to break myself out of the pack in trying to interest a publisher or an agent. In truth, what happened was that when I bumped into the Clive Adventure Writers competition, I was a little skeptical as to whether Maseah Mountain or anything that I write really would fit until I saw the website that told me that the competition was being expanded beyond the matchless Cussler writing. And so I took a flyer, basically. I think character is everything. In my books, I take great pains to make sure that we aren't dealing with cardboard cutouts. I've done a lot of reading, as many people have, and it's very easy to tell when real serious work has been done on the character. And I think it boils down to what I said before, and that is that you want the reader to care about the character. And in order to get the reader to care about the character, they have to see some of themselves in that character. And that's exactly what I try to do. That's a really interesting question. In Maseah Mountain, there is no direct antagonist, unless you want to talk about my protagonist with his internal struggles bringing the conflict. There's also life that creates conflict naturally. In an environment that my character is not used to, he finds a lot of conflict as he tries to adjust to it. Yes, my advice is simple. Just do it. And if people like your stuff, you'll see the results of that. I'd like to make sure that whoever watches this understands that this competition has been a tremendous experience. Not only the fact of the writing, but the opportunity to meet other writers as well becomes critically important, especially for new writers like myself. You tend to become really very introverted at times, and so you really need to get out and see that there are other people out there suffering like you are, having some of the successes that you are. And in this organization, all I've bumped into are really good people.
So you won, and congratulations. We saw you. I videotaped. We saw you. Win the award and everything. Mm-hmm. But we just thought it would be interesting to tell us, and maybe not. We'll find out. But tell us that first time that you decided there was something about writing, and that maybe you could do that.
Well, the first time, I guess, the spark hit me, if that's the way to describe it, is upon reading a historical work by a Virginian that wrote about street gangs in Baltimore. He wrote with such clarity and such humanity that I felt like there were other stories. I've been writing things my whole life. I've got a drawer full of short stories that had never seen the light of day. But once I read Melton's novel, it wasn't a novel, it was an historical work, Tracy Melton, I knew that there was a story there that wasn't told. And so I started telling a story. And in truth, what I found myself doing is walking my characters out on planks and then finding the way to get back off of that plank. And so what I discovered was that writing is as much problem solving as it is the creativity that's required. And once I discovered that, I started to pick up momentum. Then I realized that I really liked the research behind historical novels. And so the research ended up being as much a hoot as the writing itself. And then finally, I found a degree of comfort in editing what I had written. So it ended up being a project that was one of creativity, but then one of just sweat and tears at times too. And once you're finished, the feeling of satisfaction is uncomparable.
And it doesn't hurt to win an award either.
And it doesn't hurt to win an award either.
All right, we're good.